Maya used to believe the world was kind. She believed in music, in sunsets, in soft laughter shared under the moon. She believed in herself. But all it took was one night. One person who saw her not as a human being, but as something he could destroy. It happened after her performance. Her very first small concert where she sang her heart out. People clapped. Her mother cried happy tears. Maya felt seen for the first time. She walked home under street lights, humming her favorite song, still feeling the microphone in her hand, still hearing the applause. Then everything changed. Her memory of that night was broken into pieces, fragments too painful to hold. A sudden hand gripping her wrist. The smell of alcohol and anger. Her voice replaced by terror. Her dreams crashing like glass. She didn't remember his face, but she could never forget his laugh. Cold, victorious. Afterward, Maya sat alone in the silence of her room, hugging herself so tightly her nails left marks on her skin. She didn't cry that night. She couldn't. Her heart was too shocked to bleed. Her mother found her in the morning, sitting against the wall, trembling. But Maya said nothing. Every word felt like a wound. Every breath reminded her of what was stolen. She stopped going to school, stopped singing, stopped looking in mirrors. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. People whispered, calling it a phase, saying she needed discipline. They didn't know. They didn't understand the war inside her. She felt ruined, like she no longer deserved the air she breathed, like her dreams died in an alley where no one heard her cry. But the worst part wasn't the attack itself. It was the silence afterward, the loneliness, the way her own mind whispered, "You are broken." One night, Maya stood at the edge of a bridge, staring at the black water below. The world around her was quiet, too quiet. The river called her, promising peace, promising an end. Her hands gripped the railing as she leaned forward. A single tear fell, the first she had cried in months. Just as she was about to let go, a gentle voice behind her spoke. "Please don't disappear. Not tonight." She froze. Slowly, she turned. There stood a boy around her age, holding a sketchbook to his chest. His eyes weren't filled with pity, only fear of losing someone he didn't even know. Maya couldn't speak, but he didn't fill the silence with empty words. He simply stepped closer and whispered, "You don't know me, but I'd like to. You deserve someone to stand with you, even if you can't speak yet." It was the first time Maya felt seen, not as a victim, not as someone broken, but as someone worth saving. Her fingers loosened from the railing. Her knees gave out. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing for the first time, finally letting the pain escape. He held her like she mattered, like she wasn't alone, like she could survive this. And in that moment, a tiny spark returned in her chest. Not hope, not yet, but something close enough to keep her alive. The boy helped her stand. "Can I walk you home?" he asked softly. Maya wiped her tears and nodded. She didn't know his name. He didn't ask for hers. But destiny had already written their meeting in the stars. The same stars she once sang under. Stars she might learn to trust again. Maya didn't sleep that night. Not because of nightmares, those were already a part of her, but because of the boy who saved her without knowing her story, without demanding her truth. The next morning felt strangely different. Her room was the same. Her reflection still haunted her. But she woke up remembering someone held her when she was ready to disappear. Someone cared. His name still lived only in silence. She walked to school again, not because she wanted to learn, but because she hoped she'd see him. She found him sitting under a tree in the courtyard, sketchbook open on his lap. His pencil moved like it was writing secrets into the paper. Maya approached slowly. Her throat tightened. Words felt like sharp stones. Still, she managed to whisper, "Hi." He looked up, his eyes filled with the same gentle worry from the night before. He smiled softly. "You came back." Something inside her trembled. "You came back." 3 simple words, yet they felt like a warm blanket over frozen skin. She sat beside him, awkward and fragile. Minutes passed without speaking, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Silence with him felt like breathing again. Her gaze dropped to the sketchbook. He noticed and carefully turned it so she could see. It was a drawing of her, not broken, not afraid, not ruined, but standing under the bridge's moonlight. Wind in her hair, eyes strong and fierce, like a girl who fought her demons and lived. Maya stared at the drawing, chest tightening. That wasn't how she saw herself. Yet, he saw her that way. "You're an artist," she murmured. He shrugged. "I try. I draw what I never want to forget." She blinked at him. "Why me?" He took a breath, nervous, honest. "Because last night, you looked like someone the world almost lost." His voice shook. "And I don't think the world would recover from that." Maya's lungs collapsed into another breathless ache. Not pain, but something she couldn't name yet. "I'm Aiden," he added quietly. His name fit him, warm and steady. She wanted to say hers, but fear still held her tongue. So she simply nodded. He didn't push. He didn't ask questions. He just stayed. Every day after that, Maya found him under that tree. Some days they spoke a little. Some days they didn't speak at all. Both were okay. Aiden noticed the small things. How she flinched at sudden sounds. How she wrapped her arms around herself. How her gaze dropped whenever someone walked too close. He never asked why, but he always positioned himself on the side where she felt most afraid. He guarded her without claiming the role. One afternoon, he held out his pencil. "Draw something," he said. Her fingers trembled as she took it. She stared at the blank page for a long time. What could she draw when all she saw inside was darkness? And then, her hand moved. Slow, unsure strokes. She drew a butterfly. Its wings cracked but still stretched wide, still trying to fly. Aiden looked at the sketch, then at her. "You know," he said gently, "broken wings can still lift you higher than you've ever been." Tears fell before she could stop them. He didn't wipe them away. He didn't touch her without permission. He just sat with her while she cried. When she finally whispered, "Maya, my name is Maya." Aiden smiled, like he'd been waiting to hear it for a lifetime. "Maya," he repeated softly, as if promising to protect the name itself. Her whispered voice cracked again. "How did you know to stop me that night?" Aiden hesitated. Pain flickered in his eyes. "Because," he said, voice barely breathing, "I once stood on that same bridge, and someone found me too." Maya's heart shattered and rebuilt in the same moment. For the first time since her life was destroyed, she felt something new growing inside her. Not hope, not yet, but connection. Someone understood enough to stay. Someone hurt enough to care. Someone broken enough to recognize her pieces. Maybe, just maybe, two shattered wings could learn how to fly together. Aiden became the only place where Maya could breathe. Not home, not school, not even sleep, where nightmare still clawed at her. But beside him, she wasn't trapped inside her head. She felt safe, though neither of them talked about their pain. It sat quietly between them, not a wall, but a bridge made of scars. One afternoon, Maya and Aiden sat beneath their tree, sketchbooks open. The autumn wind brushed through the leaves like a soft song. Aiden drew her again, this time with wings, strong ones, unbroken. Maya stared at the image, her throat tightening. "How do you see strength where I can't?" Aiden placed his pencil down, eyes soft but steady. "I see a girl who still wakes up every morning," he said. "That's strength." Her breath caught. No one had ever called her strong since that night. Most people looked at her like she was fragile glass, ready to shatter again. "It hurts to live," she whispered. Aiden nodded. "Sometimes living is its own form of bravery." Their eyes held, silence, but full of meaning. Maya looked away first, a tear slipping free. Without a word, Aiden tore out a clean sheet of paper and gently placed it over his drawing of her. He didn't want her to feel pressured to be strong, just seen. That evening, Maya returned home early. Her mother was waiting, arms crossed, frustration heavy in her eyes. So much unsaid pain stood between them. Her mother spoke first. "You're never home. You don't eat. You don't talk. Why won't you tell me what's wrong?" Her voice wasn't angry. It was terrified. Maya's lips parted, a confession trembling against her teeth. I was... But the word trapped itself in her throat. Her lungs squeezed tight, her heart slamming against her ribs. Shame, fear, disgust, they all wrapped around her voice. Her mother stepped forward, trying to reach her. But Maya stepped back, because she wasn't ready. Not yet. I'm trying, she whispered, her voice breaking like thin glass. Her mother didn't understand, but she pulled Maya into a tight embrace anyway, and Maya cried silently into her mother's shoulder, not telling her the truth yet, but finally letting herself be held. The next day at school, Aiden wasn't at their tree. Panic spread through her chest like ice. What if he gave up on her? What if he regretted saving her? What if she was too much of a burden? She searched the halls, each second heavier than the last, until she found him sitting alone in the art room. His head was buried in his hands, and his sketchbook lay open on the table, crushed, pages creased and torn. Aiden. Her voice trembled. He looked up, his eyes red, pain carved into every line of his face. I'm sorry, he said quickly, as if afraid she'd run. For what? He swallowed hard. I wanted to be here for you. I need to be. But today I couldn't breathe. He looked down, ashamed. I'm still broken too. Maya stepped forward, slowly, her hand hovering near his. You saved me, she whispered. But you deserve saving too. Aiden lifted his gaze, tears clinging to his lashes. You don't have to explain your pain for me to stay, she added. I just want you here, as you are. He let out a shaking breath, a soft surrender. For the first time, Aiden let someone see his fractures. They left the art room together, not holding hands, but close enough that their shoulders brushed. As they walked, Aiden asked, Maya, do you trust me? Her heart stumbled. Trust was the hardest thing left for her to give. But looking into his eyes, she saw a survivor, not a savior. Someone who fought to live too. And that made all the difference. Yes, she whispered. Aiden exhaled a small relieved laugh, like he'd been waiting forever to hear that word. Then he said something that made her heart race with fear and hope all at once. There's something I need to show you. Something I've never shown anyone. Maya nodded, breathing deep, not knowing whether what came next would break her or heal her. But for the first time since she lost control of her life, she chose to take a step forward, and she didn't feel alone doing it. Aiden led Maya through a quiet part of the school she had never been to. A hallway faded with time, lockers rusted from years of forgotten stories. He stopped outside a door with peeling paint, his hand trembling slightly on the knob. Maya could see the fear in his eyes. Not fear of her, but fear of being seen too deeply. You don't have to, she began softly. No, he interrupted, voice fragile but determined. You trusted me last night. I want to show you why I was able to understand. He pushed the door open. Inside was a small art storage room. Stacks of canvases, jars of brushes, papers stained with colors. But what drew her eyes instantly were the paintings covering the walls. Every piece was full of pain. A child curled in a corner, shadows reaching for him. A pair of hands gripping a railing over dark water. A boy screaming, but no sound leaving his mouth. But the one that stood out most, a broken sketchbook lying in the dirt. While a boy walked away from the world, Maya stepped closer, breath shaking. These are yours. Aiden nodded silently. I used to think art was the only place where my pain could exist without destroying me, he whispered. His fingers brushed a canvas, one showing a young boy staring at a hospital room door. Terrified. Alone. My dad. Aiden paused, voice breaking. He wasn't a monster every day, just the days he drank. Maya's heart lurched. He continued, staring at the painting like it still had power over him. He used to say boys don't cry, that weakness deserved punishment. He swallowed. I learned to cry in silence, so no one would hear. Maya felt the room tighten around her. Their stories different, but their pain shaped from the same cruelty. being hurt by someone who should never have had that power. Aiden took a slow breath. I didn't think anyone could understand. Until that night, when I saw you standing where I once stood. He turned to her, eyes wet but honest. You're not the only one who drowned quietly. Maya's knees weakened, because for the first time since her trauma began, she met someone who didn't ask, didn't assume, didn't demand her truth. He shared his. Her voice quivered as she spoke. You survived. His shoulders sagged, a bitter laugh in his breath. Some days I don't feel like I did. Maya stepped closer. She didn't take his hand, but she let her presence say what words couldn't. I'm still learning how to live too. Aiden nodded slowly. Maybe we can learn together. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were dozens of tiny paper cranes, all different colors, some perfect, some clumsy, all worn at the folds from being held too tightly. My grandmother told me each crane is a wish, he said. I made one every time I wished to disappear. Maya's breath hitched. But now, he added, I want to make ones for staying. He handed her a blank square of paper. Will you make one with me? Maya stared at the little paper, like it was a form of magic she didn't deserve. Her hand shook. She failed the first fold, the second, her tears dropping onto the paper. I can't. Her voice cracked. Aiden gently guided her hands, not forcing, just supporting. You don't have to be perfect, he whispered. You just have to be here. Together, they folded the crane. It wasn't smooth or even, but it was theirs. Aiden smiled softly, as if she had created something precious. That's the most beautiful one yet. Maya exhaled, a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Something inside her chest eased, just a little, before they left the room. Aiden pinned their crane to the wall, right above the painting of the broken sketchbook. He stepped back, admiring it. It's a reminder, he said, that even broken stories can hang proudly. Maya wiped her cheeks. In this hidden art room, filled with silent screams and brave confessions, she found something she thought she'd lost forever, a reason to keep breathing tomorrow. But trauma doesn't vanish in one moment. Healing is not a straight line, and the past has a cruel way of finding its way back. Because someone had been watching Maya from a distance, someone who remembered her, and the night he tried to take everything from her, and he wasn't done yet. Maya had begun to laugh again. Quiet laughs, short, gentle, unsure. But they existed. They meant something was blooming where only pain had lived before. Every day with Aiden added a tiny stitch to the tear inside her. He made her feel seen. He made her feel like tomorrow was worth waiting for. But trauma never leaves politely. It hides in the shadows, waiting for quiet moments. And then it whispers. It happened during music class. The teacher asked her to sing something Maya once loved. Her knees locked. Her throat tightened. She shook her head quickly, barely able to breathe. The teacher frowned but moved on. Aiden, sitting in the back row, met her eyes and gave the smallest nod. It's okay. She believed him. Yet that night, as she walked home, a sudden chill wrapped around her spine. A memory flickered, a hand gripping her wrist, cold breath on her neck, a laugh she couldn't forget. She froze. The street was empty, but her fear said otherwise. She walked faster, keys clenched so tight they cut into her palm. Her breath came out sharp. Halfway home, her phone buzzed. A blocked number. Her stomach dropped. She answered anyway, her voice on the air. Hello. Static. Then a low chuckle. His laugh. The laugh from that night. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The world spun like she was underwater. Maya. His voice dragged her name like poison. You thought I forgot you. Her legs nearly gave out. I can still find you, he whispered. I remember everything. The call ended. Her phone slipped from her hand, hitting the pavement hard. Her breath shattered into sobs she couldn't hide anymore. A neighbor coming home saw her crumpling and helped her inside. Her mother was called. Panic filled the living room. Questions drowned her from every side. But she couldn't answer. She just kept whispering. He found me. Her mother held her all night, terrified and confused. But Maya's fear lived somewhere deeper than anyone could reach. Even sleep wasn't safe. Every time she closed her eyes, that voice dragged her back to the alley, back to the darkness. She woke gasping, sweat-soaked, shaking uncontrollably. By morning, she hadn't eaten or spoken. Her eyes were hollow, like yesterday's healing had never happened. Her mother insisted on walking her to school. Maya didn't argue, but when she saw Aiden under the tree, her body moved before her mind could stop it. She ran to him, threw her arms around him, and broke down. Aiden didn't ask anything. He just held her until her breathing steadied. Finally, she pulled back enough to speak. Voice cracked and raw. "He called me. The man who hurt me. He knows where I am." Aiden's face changed. His jaw clenched. Eyes filled not with fear, but fury. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "We'll tell someone. The police. A counselor. Anyone. We'll protect you." But Maya shook her head violently. "What if no one believes me? What if he comes back? What if he finishes what he started?" Aiden cupped her face, carefully, like touching her was a privilege, not a right. "Listen to me," he said softly but firmly. "He hurt you once, but you survived." She wiped her tears with shaking fingers. "He's a monster, Maya. Monsters hate the ones who live, because living means they failed." Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She needed something to believe in. But trauma makes you doubt every good thing. "What if he destroys the good I have left?" she whispered. Aiden took her hand. "Then I'll help you find new good." Her eyes filled again. But this time, the tears were softer, born from the fragile hope she feared to hold. "And if he comes," Aiden continued, "I'll be here, before he gets close, before he even breathes your name again." Maya lowered her forehead against his chest. She wasn't safe yet. She wasn't healed. She wasn't whole. But she wasn't alone. Sometimes that is the first victory. As they walked home together later that day, Aiden noticed something that made his blood run cold. A car slowly creeping along the opposite sidewalk. Windows tinted, engine low, matching pace with them. A driver leaning too far forward, watching, waiting. Aiden squeezed Maya's hand. "Don't look," he murmured. She already knew. Her breath shook. The car turned the corner and disappeared. But the terror it left behind stayed like a stain on her skin. Aiden looked back at her, and in his eyes she saw fear, but also a promise. He would never let her face this alone. Maya didn't want to go to school the next day. Her body shook at the thought of crowded hallways, loud voices, doors closing behind her. But that morning, for the first time, she chose bravery. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because she was done letting fear decide her day. Aiden walked beside her. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. His presence was enough to keep her breathing. When they reached the office, Maya squeezed his hand once before stepping inside alone. Her legs trembled the entire way to the counselor's door. She knocked. A calm voice answered, "Come in." Her counselor, Mrs. Ray, smiled warmly. "Maya, I've missed seeing you here." Maya sat, clutching her hand so tight her knuckles turned white. She tried to speak, but the words stuck behind years of silent suffering. Mrs. Ray didn't rush her. She simply waited, patient, open. Finally, Maya whispered, "Someone hurt me months ago. He found me again." Mrs. Ray's expression changed, not shock, not pity, but fierce, protective anger. "You are safe here," she said firmly, "and we will make sure he can never hurt you again." Maya cried, not from fear, but from relief. For the first time, she wasn't carrying the truth alone. Within an hour, the principal was with them, then a police officer. Aiden waited outside the office the whole time, pacing. "Ready?" Maya's voice shook as she answered the officer's questions. He recorded everything. He didn't push too hard, but he made a promise. "We will find him." Her heart beat fast, faster than fear, faster than pain. This was courage. As they left the office, Aiden stood. He gave her a small smile, proud, gentle. "You were incredible," he murmured. Maya blushed through tears. I was terrified. That's why it counts, he replied. She leaned into him, just a small moment, but it felt like a mountain moved inside her. Later that afternoon, Aiden suggested they go somewhere quiet. Somewhere healing lived in the air. He led her to the town's old library, the one with dusty windows and a garden hidden behind it. Whenever the world was too loud, Aiden said, I'd come here and hide in stories. They sat in the garden among falling leaves. Maya breathed in the scent of old books and soft earth. Her heartbeat finally steadied. Aiden opened his sketchbook again, this time not drawing her. Instead, he drew a monster, wrapped in darkness, eyes sharp and cruel. Maya froze. That's him, isn't it? Aiden asked quietly. Maya nodded, barely, tears filling her eyes. Then he drew next to the monster, a girl standing tall, wings spread wide, a light bursting from her chest, strong enough to make the monster shrink. That's you, he whispered. Courage doesn't wait for fear to leave. Courage shows up shaking. Maya stayed at the page, at the girl she never believed she could be. Until now. Suddenly, a shadow crossed over them. Maya stiffened. A man stood at the gate of the garden, watching them. Her blood ran cold. Her breath vanished. Aiden noticed immediately. He moved in front of her, shielding her with his body. But the man simply tipped his hat and walked away. A stranger. Just a stranger. But Maya's legs were still trembling. Fear made everyone look like him. Aiden sat back beside her, voice steady. You're not going to disappear, he said. Not now. Not ever. Maya nodded, but tears slipped down anyway. She hated how fragile she still felt. Aiden gently took her wrist. You have more courage than you know, he said. But you don't owe bravery to anyone. Those words healed more than any apology ever could. That night, Maya lay in bed holding a folded paper crane in her hand, the one they'd made together. She whispered to the darkness, I am still here. Outside, the same car from before was parked down the street, its headlights off, waiting, watching. He was still out there, still hunting. But now, Maya wasn't prey who hid in the shadows. She was a survivor, learning to fight back. And she wasn't alone, because Aiden, the boy with the broken sketchbook and the brave heart, had chosen to stand beside her. And together, they were preparing for the moment the past came knocking again. This time, the monster would not win. Maya thought healing would be a straight road. But trauma returns like storms, suddenly, violently, and without asking permission. She walked home with Aiden that afternoon, both trying to act normal. He told a random joke about their math teacher's crooked tie. She tried to laugh. It came out shaky, but real. Then a black car slowed beside the sidewalk. Tinted windows, engine rumbling like a growl. Maya froze, her vision blurred. Not again. Please not again. Aiden stepped in front of her, tense and ready, fists clenched. The car rolled past, turned the corner, and vanished. Her knees collapsed. Aiden caught her just before she hit the ground. It's okay, he whispered. You're safe. I'm here. But Maya's breath came in sharp bursts. It looked like his. Her voice cracked. What if he's watching me, waiting? Aiden hugged her tight, careful, but strong. He's the one who should be afraid now. That night, Maya sat at her desk trying to study, but every creak of the house, every shadow on the wall, felt like him. Her phone buzzed again. Blocked number. Her blood ran cold as she opened the message. Pretty girls shouldn't run from me. Her breath strangled inside her throat. Her fingers trembled so violently she dropped the phone. Her mother rushed in. Maya, what happened? But Maya couldn't speak. Terror stole her voice again. Her mom saw the text. Her eyes filled with horror and anger. We're calling the police. Right now. Within minutes, Officer Lane was at the house. He asked for the phone, for details, for anything she could remember. But Maya had nothing except a voice, and a shadow burned into her memory. That's enough, Officer Lane assured her. We'll use the number to trace him. He won't stay hidden for long. Maya nodded. but fear coiled tightly in her chest. She slept with her door open, night light on, Aiden texting her until she finally drifted off. Just before sleep took her, she whispered into the dark, "I survived once. I'll survive again." But fear whispered back, "He survived too." The next morning at school, Maya couldn't focus. In the hallway, she felt eyes on her. Not Aiden's reassuring gaze. Someone else. Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. After class, she stepped outside for air. The courtyard was quiet, too quiet. Then, the soft crunch of footsteps behind her. She turned slowly. A man stood by the far fence, staring straight at her. His smile was crooked, wrong, familiar in the worst way. Everything inside her collapsed. It was him, her attacker, her nightmare, her past made flesh. Her breath shattered into pieces. "Maya." He said her name like a toy he owned. "You haven't changed a bit." She couldn't move. Her body locked in place. He took a step closer, then another. "You thought I forgot you," he sneered. "You don't get rid of me that easily." A hand suddenly shoved Maya behind. Aiden. His face was molten rage. "Get away from her," he shouted, voice shaking. The man smirked. "Oh look, you brought a guard dog." Aiden stepped forward, teeth clenched. "I'm warning you." "Oh, I'm terrified," the man mocked. "Oh what? You'll draw me to death." Maya grabbed Aiden's sleeve, breathless. "Don't, please." Her voice barely existed. The man pointed two fingers at her, like a threat wrapped in confidence. "This isn't over," he said. Then he walked away, hands in pockets like he'd just chatted with an old friend. Maya fell to her knees. Aiden collapsed beside her, hands hovering, afraid to touch her without permission. She felt like her soul had been ripped open again. "He knows where I am," she whispered, hysterical. "He saw me. He knows." Aiden pushed her hair back gently. "Then we make sure the world knows too." Maya looked at him, shaking. "What if he hurts you?" Aiden shook his head. "I'm more afraid of what happens if he hurts you again." She sobbed, not from fear, but from relief that someone chose her, chose to stay, chose to fight with her. She leaned into him, and this time she didn't feel broken. She felt protected. But deep inside, rage was building, slow, hot, unstoppable. He thought he owned her story. He thought he could ruin her again. He had no idea what she had become. A survivor with fire in her chest. A girl learning to roar again. A heart stitched back together with courage. Aiden wiped her tears. "We go to the police again." He showed his face. He made a mistake. Maya stood, shaking, but standing. "He's the one who should be scared," she whispered. And in that moment, Maya realized something. Fear once tried to bury her, but she had become the storm. The police station smelled the same. Old paper and nervous hearts. But Maya wasn't the same girl who sat here the first time. She breathed in. Her lungs trembled, but they did not collapse. Aiden sat beside her, silent support wrapped in soft warmth. Officer Lane faced her with reassuring eyes. "Maya," he said gently, "you don't have to be afraid of him anymore. We're with you." Maya nodded, fingers tangled in the paper crane Aiden made her carry for courage. She swallowed hard and spoke. "He was at my school today. He approached me. He threatened me." Her voice cracked, but it didn't break. Officer Lane wrote down every detail. "What did he say?" Maya's hand shook, tears stinging her eyes. "He said, 'This isn't over.'" Aiden's jaw tightened so hard she heard it click. Lane leaned forward, voice strong. "That means we can act. He violated multiple laws. We'll issue a restraining order immediately, and we will gather evidence for an arrest." Aiden exhaled slowly, half relief, half fierce anger. Lane continued, softer now. "You did something incredibly brave coming here." Brave, a word she once hated, a word she now needed. After finishing paperwork, Maya's mother hugged her so tightly it nearly hurt. "I'm proud of you," she whispered into Maya's hair. No confusion, no judgment, only love. It made Maya cry harder. Because it was the first time she allowed someone to be proud of her again. Back at school, whispers followed Maya like shadows. Some faces held sympathy, others stared with cruel curiosity. But Maya held her head higher than she ever had. Aiden walked beside her, daring anyone to speak a word that hurt her. They sat beneath their tree again. Her safe place. Their place. Aiden watched her quietly, like he was memorizing her strength. "How do you feel?" he asked. Maya stared at her bruise passed inside her chest, then at the fierce fire rising from it. "Scared," she whispered, "and powerful." Aiden smiled, proud and relieved. "That's exactly what courage is." He handed her his sketchbook. "Draw how you see yourself now." Her hands shook again, but for a different reason this time. She drew wings, still cracked, still healing, but wide, and fierce, and rising. She added a scar across the center, not to hide, but to show she survived. When she finished, she stared at the page. For the first time, she saw a warrior staring back. Aiden touched the corner of the page gently. "Do you know what I see?" She looked up. He smiled softly. "A girl who's learning how to roar." Later that week, Maya sat in a therapist's office for the first time. It felt strange at first, too bright, too open. But her therapist's voice was soothing, calm. "Maya, you're not here because you're weak," she said. "You're here because you're strong enough to heal." Maya clutched the paper crane. She talked, slowly, words dripping like tears onto the carpet. She didn't share everything yet, but she shared enough. When the session ended, she walked out taller, lighter, like she dropped part of the weight she carried alone. 3 days later, a restraining order was granted. The school was informed. Security increased. Police patrols watched the area. Her attacker couldn't legally come near her again. The world was beginning to protect her, because she found the courage to speak. But nightmares don't follow laws. Trauma doesn't ask permission. Every night, she saw him in her sleep. The way he smiled, the way he looked at her like she was something to break. Fear tried to return, tried to steal the progress she had made. But every morning when she opened her eyes, she saw the words Aiden had written on her mirror. "You survived him." And then she breathed, and stood, and lived another day. One evening, she and Aiden sat beneath the sunset. The sky burned orange, like hope on fire. "You said once someone saved you on that bridge," Maya whispered. "Who was it?" Aiden's gaze softened. "My older sister." Maya waited. He took a long breath that looked like it hurt. "She didn't survive our father's anger. I thought, if I joined her, I'd escape the pain." His voice cracked, but she pulled me back, told me to keep going. Maya's tears fell. Not sadness, connection. "Aiden, you kept going. I'm still here because of you." Aiden blinked, overwhelmed. "Maybe," he whispered. "We're both here to save each other." Maya smiled through her tears. "I think we already are." But the world was not finished testing her. Her attacker wasn't done running from justice. Not yet. The next day, a note appeared in her locker, crudely written, taped on the inside. "You think you're brave now? I'm not finished." Maya's hand shook. But this time, not with fear, with rage. The kind of rage that grows only inside survivors, who refuse to be defeated again. She looked up, eyes blazing, voice steady. He just made the last mistake he'll ever make. Aiden stood beside her, towering with defiance. And together, they walked toward the office, toward justice. Because the monster who hurt her was about to learn what her courage tasted like. Fire. Maya felt the note burning in her palm like a threat made of fire. "I'm not finished." For months, she lived in silence. Now the silence was over. Aiden crushed the paper in his fist, eyes dark with fury. "He's desperate," he said. "He knows his time is almost up." Maya nodded, breathing through the tremble in her chest. "I'm not afraid of him anymore." She paused. "Not the way I was." Aiden placed a hand over hers, grounding her. "You're stronger than anything he ever did to you." Her heart steadied. She believed him. Officer Lane reacted fast. The school went into protective lockdown, quiet and calm, not alarming the students. Security checked entrances. Teachers stayed alert. Maya sat in a small office with Aiden close by. Her mother arrived, panic barely hidden behind protective anger. Officer Lane spoke firmly. "We're pulling footage from the halls. If he entered this building, we'll find him." Shortly after, he returned, face tense. "He was here, on campus." Maya's stomach flipped. "We have him on camera entering the West Hall at 9:17 a.m., Lane continued. "But we didn't see him leave." A cold silence filled the room. "He might still be here." Aiden stood instantly. "We have to get Maya somewhere safe." Lane nodded. "We're escorting you out. Now." The halls felt too quiet. Every step echoed like it didn't belong. Maya clutched her books to her chest, scanning every corner. Aiden stayed on her right, Lane on her left. "Maya," Lane whispered, "if you hear anything, tell me." She nodded. Then, a loud crash from down the hallway. Maya flinched. Aiden pulled her close. Lane drew his weapon. Footsteps. Fast. Heavy. A tall figure sprinted from around the corner. Security tackled him instantly. Not the attacker. Just a scared student running from the lockdown. But Maya's legs wouldn't stop shaking. Aiden held her shoulder, steadying her. "Keep breathing," he murmured. "Fear wants to stop you. Don't let it win." She inhaled, painful but strong. They continued toward the exit. Almost safe. Almost. A shout cut through the air. "Maya!" Her blood turned to ice. It was him. She turned slowly. He stood at the far end of the hallway, hands clenched, eyes burning. He looked exactly like her nightmares, only real now, and furious. A predator cornered. "You thought lies could protect you," he snarled. "You think you can ruin my life." Aiden stepped forward, voice sharp. "You ruined your own life the night you hurt her." Her attacker laughed, wild, angry, unhinged. "Little hero." He took a step closer. "You think you can keep her?" Lane raised his voice like steel cutting through fear. "Stop. Hands where I can see them." But the man's eyes were locked on Maya, like she was a possession that slipped from his hand. "You belong to me," he hissed. Maya's heart roared, not with fear, with rage. "No," she said, voice trembling but fearless. "I belong to myself." And as she said it, something changed. She no longer saw him as a monster with power. She saw a coward, a small man, terrified of a girl who survived him. He lunged. Lane tackled him in seconds, hard. Aiden pulled Maya away, shielding her. The attacker fought like an animal, screaming, kicking. But officers swarmed him, pinning him to the ground, cuffing his wrists. Maya stood frozen, watching him struggle. His eyes met Hayes one last time, full of losing. "This isn't over," he spat. "I'll find a way out." Lane shoved him into the car. "You won't ever get near her again." But the threat lingered like poison in the air. Maya's legs finally gave up. She collapsed into Aiden's arms. "It's okay," he whispered. "He's going to jail. They caught him." Maya shook her head slowly. "You heard him," she whispered. "He said this isn't over." Aiden held her tighter. "If he tries again, he'll face both of us." Officer Lane approached gently. "He's being transported to the station now. We'll file charges immediately." He looked at Maya with fierce respect. "You did everything right today. This is a major step toward justice." A major step, not the final one. That evening, Maya sat with Aiden under their tree, the place where healing began. She stared at the paper crane in her hand. Aiden nudged her shoulder. "You were incredible. I hope you know that." She exhaled, shaky but victorious. "I didn't freeze." She almost smiled. "I stood up." Aiden nodded, proud tears threatening his eyes. "You didn't just stand up. You fought back." Maya looked at him, really looked. At his brave, trembling heart. At his own scars hidden behind softness. "I'm scared," she whispered. He squeezed her hand. "Then we'll be scared together." She leaned her head on his shoulder. For the first time, the world didn't feel impossible. For the first time, she believed she might win this fight. But later that night, Officer Lane called again. Maya. His voice was strained. I need you and your mother to come in first thing in the morning. There's been a development. Her blood ran cold. What happened? She whispered. There was a long pause. Too long. He escaped. Maya's heart stopped. Aiden looked at her, waiting for the truth in her eyes. Her voice was barely audible. He's out. The nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning its final chapter. Maya didn't leave her room that night. She sat on the edge of her bed, hugging her knees close, trying to breathe through the panic pressing on her chest. He escaped. He's out there. He's coming. Every creak in the house sounded like a footstep. Every shadow looked like him. Her mother stayed awake downstairs, pacing and calling everyone she could, the police, the school, family members. No one knew where he went after breaking free. No one knew what he would do. Maya's phone buzzed. A message. Just one word. Soon. Her scream tore the silence apart. Her mother rushed in. Maya shaking, holding the phone like it was a bomb. He texted, she choked out. He knows. He knows where I am. Her mother grabbed the phone with trembling hands and called Officer Lane immediately. Within 20 minutes, police cars surrounded the house. Officer Lane himself came inside, urgency written across his face. He must have gotten to another phone. We're tracking this number too, he said. But Maya. His tone hardened. You are not alone anymore. We will protect you. Aiden arrived moments later with his aunt, his legal guardian, after getting permission to stay. His face was pale, eyes dark with worry. He rushed to Maya and wrapped his arms around her carefully. I'm here, he whispered. I'm not leaving you. Ever. Her tears fell into his shirt, but she didn't collapse this time. Not fully, because strength had begun living in her bones. Officers stayed overnight, stationed at every exit. Maya sat downstairs with Aiden, wrapped in a blanket, the world sharper than she wanted it to be. Aiden held her hand tight. Not possessive, not controlling, just there. You know, he said softly, staring at the floor. Fee doesn't look good on him. Maya blinked, confused. He's afraid, Aiden continued. That's why he's trying so hard. Bullies panic when their control disappears. Maya let that sink in. Her attacker wasn't chasing her because she was weak. He was chasing her because she got away, because she spoke up, because she fought back. Maya wiped her tears. A new fire warmed her chest. He should be scared of me, she whispered. Aiden nodded, proud, fierce. He is. Hours crawled by. Police checked windows, doors, backyards. But the fear of what might come lingered like smoke. At 3:17 a.m., a tapping sound hit the living room window. Not loud, but unmistakable. Maya froze. Aiden stood, body tense like a shield ready to take the hit. Officer Lane moved silently toward the curtains. Maya held her breath. Lane pulled the curtain aside. A branch brushed the glass. Nothing more. But Maya knew better. He was testing her, watching, hunting. Her heart pounded, but this time with anger and defiance. Aiden sat again, but closer. His shoulder pressed against hers. You're shaking, he murmured. I'm angry, she answered. He smiled, the kind of smile that meant he saw a warrior rising. Just before sunrise, Officer Lane came to Maya, kneeling to her eye level. Today, he said carefully, I want you to stay close to people you trust. You should not go anywhere alone. Maya nodded. I'm tired of hiding, she whispered. Lane nodded firmly. Then don't hide. We'll make sure he does. Her mother kissed the top of her head with trembling lips. Aiden handed Maya a tiny paper crane. For courage, he said. She held it tightly. She didn't feel fearless, but she felt determined. At school later that day, whispers spread like wildfire. Everyone knew something happened. No one knew the whole truth, but they saw Maya walking in. Head high, chin steady, Aiden at her side. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't prey. She was a survivor they couldn't ignore. She reached their tree, their safe place, and breathed in deeply. Aiden watched her. What are you thinking? He asked. Maya met his eyes, fierce, steady. I'm tired of running from the ghost of one night. He doesn't get to own me anymore. Aiden's throat tightened with emotion. You're the bravest person I know, he whispered. Maya looked at her scarred heart and believed him, even if just a little. But just when she thought she could breathe, a note dropped at her feet. A plain piece of paper. No one near enough to leave it. No footsteps. No clues. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. If I can't have your silence, I'll take your voice. Maya's breath vanished. She wasn't just fighting to survive. She was fighting to be heard. Aiden grabbed the note, fury burning in his eyes. We're giving this to the police. Now. Maya nodded slowly. No, she whispered. Aiden froze. What? Maya stood, trembling, but stronger than any fear she'd known. This ends soon, but not because I hide. Her eyes hardened. I want him to see what he created. I want him to see I'm not afraid anymore. Aiden stared at her, stunned by her strength. He finally nodded. Then I'll stand with you. Every second. Every step. She squeezed his hand. For the first time, I feel alive. Maya didn't know where the next hours would lead. She didn't know how close danger stood. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was fighting back. And she would win. Because courage had finally learned how to roar inside her. Louder than fear. Louder than silence. Louder than him. The monster thought he escaped. He didn't realize. He had just set her free. Maya returned to the police station with a different posture. Not curled into herself. Not hiding behind Aiden. But walking forward with purpose. Officer Lane greeted her with a serious expression. We have the court order, the threats, and witness accounts, he explained. But we need one more thing to catch him tonight. Maya nodded, heart pounding. What is it? Lane placed a new phone on the table. We believe he'll try to contact you again. This device will trace him the moment he does. Aiden immediately stiffened. You want him to call her? That's dangerous. Lane held his gaze. Which is why this will be controlled. We'll be watching the entire time. Maya looked between them, fear and bravery fighting inside her chest. She took a slow breath. We end this, she whispered. He doesn't get to run anymore. Lane nodded firmly. Exactly. That evening, Maya's house was filled with quiet tension. 2 officers waited outside. Lane remained inside with Maya and her mother. Aiden refused to leave. He stood at Maya's side like armor made of loyalty. They sat around the living room table. The phone lay in front of Maya like a sleeping threat. She stared at it so hard her eyes burned. Not out of fear, but defiance. Aiden squeezed her hand gently. You don't have to do this alone. She looked at him. This boy who saved her in every way someone could. I know, she whispered. Minutes crawled by. Outside, the street light flickered, as if the night was holding its breath. 2. Then the phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then steady vibration against the wood. Blocked number. Maya's throat tightened. Officer Lane pointed. Answer it. Put it on speaker. Maya pressed the green button. She didn't speak. Silence stretched like a thin wire. Then his voice. Smooth. Cold. Familiar. Sickening. I see you're not hiding anymore. Maya's fingers dug into her palm, but her voice stayed steady. No. I'm done letting you control me. A low laugh echoed through the speaker. Control. You're the one who can't stop thinking about me. Aiden moved closer, rage carved into his features. Maya forced her breath even. You don't scare me anymore. That's cute, he hissed. But I still remember how you begged. Enough. Maya cut him off, voice sharper than steel. You don't get to define me. Not anymore. The line crackled. A shift. Like he wasn't used to losing power. You think these people can protect you, he spat. You think this ends with me in handcuffs. Officer Lane tapped the device rapidly, tracking the location. Maya leaned closer to the phone. This ends with me winning, she said. And you alone. A heavy breath. A warning disguised as arrogance. I'm closer than you think. Lane looked up sharply. Got him. Aiden turned toward the window, and his face drained of color. Maya, he whispered. His outside. Her breath vanished. Lane signaled the officers outside. Suddenly, the night exploded into shouts. Police, don't move. Maya stood frozen, Aiden shielding her, Lane ready to run out the door. But instead, Lane turned to Maya with a rare, triumphant smile. We have him. Maya exhaled, not fear, but victory, because this time, she wasn't the one being taken. He was. The night he was arrested, Maya slept for the first time without waking in panic. Not a peaceful sleep, but a sleep where her dreams weren't controlled by fear. That alone felt like a miracle. By morning, the house was quiet. Her mom sat at the kitchen table, eyes puffy from crying, but this time the tears were relief. You're the bravest person I've ever known, she whispered, pulling Maya into a hug. Maya held on a little longer than usual. She no longer felt like a burden. She felt worthy. At school, people stayed again. But there was something new in their eyes. Respect. Or some even smiles of support. Aiden was waiting beneath their tree. As soon as he saw her, his face softened. How are you? He asked. Maya thought for a moment. Tired, but lighter, she said. He nodded. That's what happens when you finally put down some of the weight. She sat beside him, leaning her shoulder against his for strength. Do you think it's really over? She asked quietly. Aiden shook his head gently. It's not over, he said truthfully, but you're not running from it anymore, and that's everything. His honesty grounded her. For the first time, she believed the future was something she could want again. Later that day, Maya and her mother met with Officer Lane and a victim's advocate. Lane looked relieved, but serious. We have him in custody, he said. But the legal process begins now. Maya, your statement will be important. They may ask you to speak in court. Maya stiffened. Her heartbeat skipped painfully. Court. Faces watching her. Him staring, judging, blaming. Lane saw the panic in her eyes and softened his voice. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for, he said. But your voice is powerful. It can help make sure he never hurts anyone else. Maya looked at her hands. Small, shaking, but capable of holding on anyway. She took a deep breath. I'll speak, she whispered, for the girl I was that night, and every girl he could hurt next. Lane nodded with admiration. That's real courage. That evening, Aiden walked Maya home. The air was cool, soft, nothing like the terror-filled nights before. Do you ever think about leaving? Maya asked suddenly. Going somewhere new, somewhere without hurt. Aiden smiled a little sadly. I used to, he said. But then, I found reasons to stay. Maya tilted her head. What reasons? He stopped walking, turned to her fully. You. Her breath caught. A warmth spread through her chest. Not fear this time, but something dangerous in a gentler way. Something she thought she'd never feel again. Aiden stepped closer, slowly, giving her space to move away if she needed. She didn't. You helped me survive my past, he said softly, and now I get to watch you rise from yours. Maya's eyes stung, but she smiled anyway. I don't feel strong every day, she admitted. You don't have to, he answered. That's why I'm here. On the days you forget, I'll remind you. For the first time, Maya felt the future open its hands to her, inviting her to live, not just survive. But trauma doesn't vanish. Healing doesn't move in straight lines, and monsters don't like losing. Later that night, Maya received a call from Officer Lane. Maya, we found something in his belongings, his voice serious. He had photos of you. Recent photos, taken from a distance. Maya's heart dropped. The danger wasn't completely gone. He had been planning much more. Lane continued, voice steady. But now those photos are evidence, enough to keep him locked away longer. Maya closed her eyes. She wasn't scared anymore. She was angry. She was powerful. She whispered into the quiet. He'll never own any part of me again. And she meant it. The courtroom air was heavy, thick with judgment and truth waiting to be spoken. Maya sat between her mother and Aiden, her fingers wrapped around a small paper crane. Her shield, her proof that she had survived. Her attacker sat across the room, shackled, but still wearing that arrogant smirk. The smirk of someone who never believed he'd face consequences. When the judge called her name, Maya stood. She was trembling, but she was standing. Her eyes didn't search for comfort. Not her mother's, not Aiden's. She looked directly at the man who tried to destroy her. Her voice was small at first. "He hurt me." He leaned forward, his smirk widening, like he enjoyed hearing it. But Maya continued, louder. "He tried to take my voice." His smirk began to crack. He thought he could control me with fear. Her breath steadied. He thought I would stay silent forever. She took one step closer, courage in each movement. "But I am not silent anymore." Aiden's breath caught. Her mother's hand covered her heart. The attacker looked away, because he couldn't stop her now. Maya's voice rose, stronger than the walls could contain. "You didn't win. You didn't break me. I found help. I found hope. I found myself again." Tears filled her eyes, but they didn't weaken her. They proved she was alive. "You hurt a girl who was innocent, but that girl grew up. And now she's here to make sure you can't hurt anyone else." The entire courtroom was silent, moved, breathless. "You don't own my story anymore," Maya finished softly. "I do." She stepped down. Aiden stood as she approached, eyes shining. "You were incredible," he whispered. Maya exhaled, a long, heavy breath, like years of suffocation finally released. The judge spoke firmly. "Based on the evidence and testimony, this court sentences the defendant to 18 years in prison." Her attacker's face twisted, shock, rage, defeat. He shouted her name, but the guards dragged him away. His voice no longer controlled her. It never would again. As the courtroom doors slammed shut behind him, Maya felt something she hadn't in so long. Freedom. Outside, sunlight spilled over the courthouse steps. Warm, bright, honest. Maya lifted her face into the light. Aiden stepped beside her, hands tucked in his pockets, smiling softly. "How does it feel?" he asked. Maya considered the question, really felt inside herself for the answer. "It feels like I can breathe again," she whispered. "And the air doesn't hurt." Aiden nodded, proud, emotional. "You fought for yourself," he said. "You saved yourself." Maya smiled through her tears. "I wasn't alone." Aiden took her hand. This time, she didn't flinch. She held on. Later that night, Maya stood before her mirror. Her reflection looked back with new eyes. Braver, wiser, unbroken. She wrote new words beside the reminder Aiden left weeks ago. "I survived him. And now, I choose me." Her wings were still healing, but they were hers, and they were ready to fly. She opened the window, breathed in the cool night air, and whispered to the stars, "I'm still here." And for the first time, it didn't sound like fear. It sounded like victory. Her story didn't end with pain. Her story began with survival. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps me share more stories of strength and survival. And remember, you are not alone.